So we'll start off with just, if you want to introduce yourself, what your background is and what got you into art.
Yeah, so I'm Stephy Fung. I'm a 3D artist. I've been doing this for around 4 years. This will be my fourth year doing 3D, and I guess I'm a self-taught designer, I would say. I actually studied graphic design at university, but kind of found static graphic design a bit boring. I
Mm.
think as a kid growing up watching like a lot of animation, a lot of Disney, Ghibli,
Mhm.
anime, that really excited me. So I guess within my work, I stopped doing graphic design as such, and then I started moving into motion design through watching loads of YouTube tutorials. So shout out to Grayscale Gorilla, iDesign. You guys are probably the ones who got me started in 3D. And now I do what I do today. I am a full-time 3D motion designer, and I really enjoy what I do.
Nice. So do you, it seems like there's not really like formal education per se in the realm where like most of the people that are really like cracking with this, that are really like doing well, are sitting there just kind of like, yeah, I started off as like a hobby, or like, I like Photoshop and then this took off. And like all of them talk about YouTube or just the community, like message boards, because we're all like, you know 20s kind of thing, so message boards
Mhm.
pre-Reddit were like huge. And so it seems like that's where like everybody kind of learned. Is there more formal education coming, or is this still so cutting edge that they don't have like degree plans kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say when I studied university, that was like, oh God, maybe 2015,
Hmm.
roughly. Yeah, it's been about that time. When I started, motion design wasn't really a big thing
Hmm.
at all. It was only by the time I studied at university for 5 years, so that's a freaking long time, right?
Hmm.
By the fifth year, motion design was starting to become like something more serious. And they did have animation, for example. They had an animation course, but you wouldn't really have a motion design course. So
Hmm.
everything that I learned, I couldn't find at university. So that's why I went to YouTube
Uh-huh.
because people were, I mean, it was free as well. So if it's
Yeah.
a free resource, I'm definitely going to use it.
Yeah, YouTube University. I like it's crazy because like, how has it been that, Ghibli and Disney and all these other studios have people who are able to do this if there's no degree path or learning resources that previously, like before YouTube, like Disney's not exactly new, so like how did those guys learn and actually do it then? Do you like, I know that's not, yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, of course, people who pre-YouTube, of course, before YouTube even existed, I
Mhm.
think a lot of animators and motion designers learn purely just through working,
Mhm.
like being a runner and then moving up through the company and actually learning from other people. I think that's how it's traditionally been.
Mhm.
And now that we have YouTube, and of course, you've got those learning websites like Skillshare, for
Mhm.
example, or the LinkedIn one. I forgot what it's called. It used to be Linda, but anyways, you've got all these different websites now that are teaching you. So you got so much resources online to teach you. You don't have to rely on going to a studio to learn how to work in 3D.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like, so there's a guy Novell who is really really brilliant. I think he's like Silicon Valley like tech type, and he's kind of done like a lot more speaking, like public speaking stuff, and he's on Clubhouse all the time. And he has a thing of like, there's we live in like a time where like the resources there, it's the people who don't want to learn kind of thing. And not to
Mm-hmm.
take away from people who don't have time, but if you really like just are working like a 40-hour week and you're like, all right, let me hit a pivot in terms of just learning something totally new, I think this is like the most accessible time frame of just, yeah, of being able to change your circumstances, right? Like it's not perfect, right? But like it's just crazy to see like what's on YouTube, because I mean, this like just what we're doing right now, like, okay, yeah, Zoom call is not that big of a deal, but okay, like what microphone to use? I have a circle light because I'm pale and I'm trying to make myself look a little bit better, right? Like, and then the editing software, like I actually use Blender for my video editing, and I didn't know that it, like when I'm hearing from other people, I'm like, Blender, I think I've heard of Blender, and then I'm like, shit, that's my fucking, like, I use that for video editing. Like, I guess I'm really not using that to like the full ability of the program kind of thing, because I just cut and clip and yeah. But yeah, it's been like it's been good. But yeah, I guess, so for you with your work, you recently had a piece on known origin, right?
Yeah.
And so you just finished up that. Do you want to talk about that piece? I can kind of pull it up. I believe it's the blue dress, right?
Yes, it's the piece is called Emperor Strolls, and that was a roller coaster of a piece. It was actually a drop, done maybe like 2 days ago. It's so recent. So I only accepted an offer yesterday, and I'm really happy. I think I don't consider myself a big creator by all means. So having somebody bid like that amount of money on my piece
Mm.
is one, it's a new experience for me, and two, I just can't believe it. Like this is actually happening for digital artists. I think it's a wonderful thing that NFTs are providing.
Mm. Do you? So I don't know how much you want to like go into your current work, but it seems like what you're doing with your job is similar to like, well, actually, yeah. Do you want to talk about your more professional work, just in terms of like how it correlates with what you're doing in terms of the fun stuff, your personal work?
Actually, I keep my full-time works separate to my personal work. They're
Mm,
very different actually. I think in my day-to-day job, I literally work for a luxury department store,
mm,
and I do a lot of things that are mostly 2D graphics and sometimes 3D.
mm,
But I realize, within my day job, my client is the company, and I don't get as much creative freedom as I do with my personal work, which is why outside of my personal work, I strive so hard to create projects that I really enjoy and that I am able to art direct more. And I think within my personal work, the theme that has been really close to my heart recently is experimenting and celebrating with Chinese culture. I think I'm British Chinese. I was born in London,
mm,
and I haven't really appreciated my Chinese culture until I've become an adult.
mm,
So me as an artist, I feel like this is my chance to actually learn about my Chinese culture more.
mm,
And also, apart from educating myself, I can also educate people who actually don't know much about the culture. And I think there is definitely space for more work like this in the 3D industry. I don't think there is enough work from people of color yet.
mm.
So that's why I do what I do.
Nice. Yeah. So we had discussed, but yeah, my fiance is Chinese, and so when Lunar New Year hit, actually have like a tweet from around Lunar New Year. I think it was like the day after, but I didn't see any Chinese Lunar New Year pieces, and so like I just happened to stumble upon yours like at like a later date, but like I couldn't believe that. I mean, I understand, like I just figured I'd see some. You know what I mean? Because it's such like a big holiday, and so like in New York City we have such like a strong population of like Chinese and Asians, and so like Chinatown goes. I don't actually know what the I don't know what the ability to celebrate really was this year with COVID, but
Mhm.
pre-COVID and stuff like that, it's insanity. Like the streets are shut down, like people are shooting off cannons of confetti and stuff. Like it's pandemonium. Um I actually learned how to do lion dancing in college a little bit with like a cultural organization, and they needed somebody
Yeah.
to be the bottom, and so like the bottom of the lion, and so I like was like learning that. I actually am on video being like the head of the dragon for like one of the cultural things, because I just happened to pick it up pretty quickly, and so like there's like a picture of me with that, and so like I've always been a huge appreciator of it, and then like my experience through middle school and high school was that I started hanging out with like a lot of Asians because I went to Brooklyn Tech, which is 60% Asian, and so I grew up in 90% Irish, and then I went to
Mhm.
high school, and like all that kind of like norm is out the window of like just other Irish people, and then now it's like all like, well, 60% Asian, and so I just
Yeah.
met some really great people and really started like appreciating the culture.
Yeah, I agree. Usually, not this year, not last year, but Chinese New Year is usually, we got Chinatown here in London,
Mm,
and it's usually packed full of people.
mm,
It's like you're like in a tuna can, like everyone is like packed together, and like confetti everywhere and lion dance. So it's a really, really lovely celebration, but couldn't do that this year. So that's why I was kind of motivated to show it online and have like this kind of celebration online. And I guess what you're saying with the lack of, like, for example, I can only talk from my experience, that
mm,
lack of Chinese artists, I would say, in the 3D space is also because as Chinese culture or Chinese community, art is not typically seen as a career path.
mm,
if I'm honest. It's usually, you get those stereotypes like the Chinese people are usually doctors or accountants, or you're gonna become an economist. But
Mhm.
me, when I was growing up, I think my parents understood that I really enjoyed drawing, painting, doing creative stuff. I even had a backup like job if my university course didn't go well.
Mhm.
So they let me try my university course for graphic design,
Mhm.
and my backup was economics. So if I wasn't doing what I was doing today, I'd be in economics, which
Mhm.
is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. It's always been like a weird dichotomy for me because my parents were very like hands off as far as that goes. Where for me going into college it was just kind of like, all right, like go be free and like I through high school and everything like that. Like okay, I did not do well in high school. I did well in middle school. High school I started goofing off, and then college I did okay. I made dean's list one semester. That was it. But for like me versus like the rest of my friends, like yeah, just like really wildly like high performers where I'm like, dude, have some fun and like clearly like it's paid off for them and stuff like that. Like I have a friend who's a nurse at Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is like a really good cancer institute. My girlfriend's fiance's an accountant and a whole lot of other stuff, right? Just like very successful. And so I think that there's dichotomy within that of like success but at the same time happiness, and it seems like you really found a lot more like happiness in the art world.
Yeah, 100%. I think it goes with anything. If you enjoy something, and if you want to do that for the rest of your life, you're gonna have to work hard to make that your job.
Mhm.
You can literally have anything as your job. You just gotta have to put the hard work into it.
Mhm. So what what do you think your game plan is moving forward? Like do you enjoy, like you mentioned that it's not really like a creative outlet with work, do you think that there becomes a point where you're successful enough that you would like to just focus on your own stuff, or like where do you want to take your own stuff? Like do you think that you could open up your own boutique? I feel like the world is just starting in terms of like I think augmented reality is like the coolest thing, and I think that your pieces in that, like imagine just looking down and so my girlfriend fiance was not, sorry, that's a new thing, so yeah, I'm still learning, but keep, is it keep out or cheap out, she was not sure which the pronunciation was.
So it's not quite sure how you say it in Mandarin because I usually speak Cantonese, but
Okay.
it's K-pole in Cantonese.
Okay.
I assume in Mandarin it's Chi Po,
Okay.
but I know people who are gonna speak Mandarin be like, you're butchering the pronunciation.
Yeah, she wasn't positive which way, but I just imagine like AR being so great for like your work in particular because you have so many like dresses and streetwear and all this stuff, and like just being able to look down and have it like I don't know unfold and then like you're in a completely different outfit would be awesome. And so yeah, I guess like where do you want to take your future in a manifesting state?
Yeah, I guess maybe in a few years' time, I would really like to be a full-time artist or full-time 3D motion designer as such. And yeah, what you touched about AR, I am really passionate about interactive design. AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality are still new. Yeah, they're kind of new. They've been here for a while, but actually, like combining it with 3D assets
Mhm.
is really exciting, and it's something I definitely would like to do more. I have this kind of idea, like imagine if you have your phone and you've got it on your camera and you point it at a mirror and you could kind of just like swipe through your different outfits of the
Mhm.
day. Like that would be really cool if I could bring my 3D garments into that kind of space.
Mhm. Yeah, there's so I did a clubhouse with this guy, and I think that your work is like perfect for that. His name is Blink, BLNK, and then he worked with this guy Dusty Kessler, but they created this whole like AR experience where like you could actually like switch your shoes, and so like you scan the code, and then like on like the phone like it you look down at your shoes and your shoes change into this kind of thing, and so like that tech might already be here. I just feel like your style just like I don't know. Like, do you think that you want to get into like your own kind of boutique? Like, do you think that you just want to stay with like 3D design? Because like it seems like your pieces could have their own kind of store, right? Like that's what I look at. Like I saw, I think one of your stories had like an AR thing where you went through like a door and then you're in like the boutique of a studio and all the dresses are hanging and stuff. And so like,
Yeah.
do you think that you would want to open up your own store and like kind of tie it in, or is this just you like to do the art side, or where do you think?
I literally have not thought about that. And now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, what if that could be a possibility?
Mm,
Yes, it could be a possibility. And actually, that story that you saw with the AR, my friend who is in charge of the Institute of Digital Fashion, she also helped to build that. And it's one of the first augmented reality experiences where you can actually like walk in with your phone into a space
mm.
and showcase digital fashion. And like when I saw it, I was like, my mind was blown. So yeah, I definitely do like the possibility is there. I just haven't really thought that far.
Mm. I think that for like a lot of artists, like, what you can do is just really whatever you want to. And then, so if that's going to be the case, that's my take at least, right? So, if you just kind of sit there and if you want to do it, I think that you definitely could. I personally, like, I'm going to actually pull one up, but I really, I don't wear high street fair type fashion. Personally, I'm
Hmm.
more muted in my own dress, but I really appreciate it. And so, like, with your pieces, are so I guess a sidetrack question: the blue piece that you have that's like almost like a half cut skirt, is that traditional or is that like a modification on the cultural wear?
It's not traditional at all. It was actually a combination of the cheapo and kind of tech wear inspiration. So I take a lot of inspiration from traditional Chinese clothing, but
Mm,
I'm also thinking of ways that we can still use those elements and make it modern as
mm,
well, so that people today can wear these types of things.
yeah, I feel like, you could do a clothing line like the green hoodie with the, I can't tell if it's like the wording on the top and everything. I probably would not rock it, but I could definitely imagine, I don't know, somebody breakdancing or like somebody into like the streetwear kind of scene. I have friends who are like really into streetwear. I am a sneakerhead, and so that's really like the depth of my range. And otherwise, I am a very boring dress person. But just the whole scene is incredible with, the lanterns in the background, like the green, like the accents on the pants. Like, I'm a huge fan of the design. I can't, I know my limitations as a styled person.
Thank you so much. And I think that's what's really excites me about combining my 3D skills with digital fashion. I only picked up this skill, I would say, with Marvelous Designer. It's a program which I use to create digital garments. I only picked that up maybe 6 or 7 months ago. It hasn't even been that long. And I think it stemmed from my fascination of, I actually wanted to create my own brand when I was at university. You
Mhm,
know how I studied graphic design? I thought, what if I made my own brand? I'm a graphic design student. If I could make a design and put it onto a hoodie or
mhm,
into on a t-shirt, but that just never happened.
mhm.
So throughout lockdown, I thought, you know what? What if I still like the idea of making my own clothes, but what if I made it digital
Yeah.
and there's no like limitations?
Mhm.
So that's where it all happened.
Yeah, and you could print whichever ones you decide to. I don't know. It's Supreme's dying. That's what I hear in the community, and so, you can kind of like take over that space and, you know have the Steffi Fung brand and like
Sounds like a plan.
yeah, it's I don't know. I like it. I like. I really enjoyed like a lot of your pieces just on the basis of that combination between the two, and then for me, like, historical Chinese pieces are so incredible because of like the colors and the designs and the dragons and the lions, and so like that kind of combination to me like really sets your work apart. Because I mean, you might be more attuned to, Chinese 3D artists than I am. I have not found, and I searched, like I said, I didn't find anybody. I couldn't even find you, and then somebody, I guess, just retweeted you, and I stumbled across you. But it's a very, niche subject in terms of design, but like there's
Hmm.
just so much that you could do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I do know of 3D artists that are Chinese.
Mm,
I've there's only a few.
mm,
There's not a lot of us for sure. But in terms of 3D like Chinese themes,
mm,
I don't really see a lot.
mm. Do you have pieces that you're working on moving forward that are, say, not in the garment aspect? Like, do you plan to do other pieces that are just spaces or designs or, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I as much as I love currently, my passion is with digital fashion
Mm-hmm,
and I do enjoy it. I don't just want to solely make digital fashion. I'm a 3D generalist at heart. And what I also enjoy is building 3D environments environments. And I think that's something I want to work more towards as well, so that people can see the breadth of
Mm,
my skills. It's not just digital fashion, because you can probably also see that within my digital fashion pieces, with even the scenes that they're placed in.
mm,
So that's what I want to work on. I don't just want to keep working on digital fashion solely. I want to kind of diversify my portfolio.
mm. So I had I had popped in to one of your Twitch streams, and you had a ton of people watching. Like, do you when you started, like, I had a post and I had tagged you, and so you'd seen it, but the post was basically like, just well managing your own social media, because that's going to really drive success, and you have really killed it on Twitch. Was that like an active thing? Did you just decide that you wanted to, be on Twitch, or is it just like this, all encompassing good social media presence that you're trying to have?
Yeah, yeah. What I've realized is that I really enjoy showing my process. And I guess I started Twitch in July.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been about, oh God, maths, a few months.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a few months, and it was during lockdown. And I guess what I wanted to do was share my process, because I already do that on my TikTok, on my Instagram already. So what difference is it with me creating my personal work? I might as well stream it if I'm doing work and
Mm-hmm.
also talk to people. So I started doing that in July. I made sure I streamed every week consistently. So once a week for me was enough. It wasn't too much pressure, because of course I've got a full-time job as well. So I didn't want to burn out. And I guess from that, slowly every week, being consistent and showing my process, people just started organically coming to my space and on Twitch. And I really appreciate that, actually. And it's just been going on ever since. I think what people really enjoy about Twitch actually is seeing how artists on Instagram or Twitter is like, they're real people. You
Mm-hmm.
can actually talk to them. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can actually see who's making it and actually have a real conversation with them. And I think that's also why Clubhouse is doing so well, because you get to listen to their voice, which is so different from just reading text or
Mm-hmm.
looking at an image, and you get to hear and see what they're like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think somebody, I forget what the direct comparison is, but the Clubhouse is basically just like a more electric version of like podcast, right? Like podcasts have obviously blown up, and Clubhouse has the ability for you to be like, "Hey, I got a point," or like, "Hey, I got a question," like, and that ability to actually interact with, you know, honestly, like in some of the spaces, just like absolute superstars, where like you have not I, as a normal person, have no right to be like on a stage with somebody like talking, but like you could sit there and be like, "Hey, I just had a question," and like that's what you see, where like somebody's totally geeking out and
Mhm.
hyped. So it's cool to see, not that it's a takeover, but the really success that a lot of digital artists have been having. Like, do you know Baka Arts? He's been having like a couple of rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Have
I've
you
been
been?
in a few of his
Oh
talks.
yeah, yeah. He's excuse me. He's like absolutely also incredible too. But yeah, it's I think that COVID has like really changed a lot of the spaces. Do you think that like you have been impacted through COVID and quarantine, like just the lockdown and all that kind of stuff? Like, do you think that it affects your art, or like do you think that it helped you in terms of like the great pause in terms of being able to focus on yourself?
I think lockdown has given me more time, because when I used to, before COVID and before lockdown, I used to have at least an hour's commute or hour and a half on a bad day commute to work, and then hour and a half commute back.
Mm,
So that's already 3 hours of my day taken out. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And then of course you got to cook. You've got dinner, and then by that time, you're ready for bed.
yeah,
You don't really have time for anything else, right? So I guess that's what I really appreciate working from home. I realized that I've got a better work life balance. I've got more time to focus on myself, or even just like I got more time to do exercise if I really wanted to.
mm,
And so that has really helped me in terms of my mental health as a creative. And I also think with the lack of social life, that's why I moved to social media, because I guess I missed, talking to people, and that's why I really enjoy Twitch. I really enjoy talking to people on social media, and that's what another reason why I started building up my social media presence is it kind of all links together.
mhm. Yeah. I Somebody had a tweet, and then somebody shared it in like one of the Discord chats that I'm in, and it turned into like I love you guys. And like it's yeah, I think that I'm closer with online people than I've been with like people really physically in my life than I have been ever. Where it's just it's weird, right? Like we kind of hit this like turning point of internal, and I don't know. It's such a weird time. Like I really don't know where this goes. I don't like. Do I just go back to hanging out with all my friends in person, like in a post-COVID world, and like, oh yeah, like, hey, thanks for like, the past like year hanging out and talking like almost every day, and I'll go never talk to you again. Like it's such a weird, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But yeah, it's yeah, it's COVID's whatever. We all know how crazy COVID is.
Yeah.
So with like with work and then with like your Twitch stream and then working on things by yourself, like what's a like day or a week in your life currently?
Yeah. Currently, so my full-time work is usually 9 to 5,
Mm,
and then that's Monday to Friday. And then I would stream on Twitch every Thursday. So that's once a week. And then in between that, I usually either prepare some files for my Twitch stream uh, from Monday to Wednesday for my Twitch stream. And then after that, I usually render my piece and then I do editing for like TikTok or for Instagram or for Twitter.
mm.
And I do the editing on the later part of the week. So that is what my week really looks like. I do also try to include 2 days for exercise as well, because I think it's important to not just always be on your computer
Mm.
as a digital artist.
What's the exercise of choice?
Actually, me and my partner, we've bought a lot of exercise equipment since lockdown because we're gym enthusiasts. So we really like doing weightlifting and yeah, so we bought loads of weights.
Nice, nice,
So we got our own. We've basically made our own little gym at home.
nice. Yeah, I definitely agree on the mental health aspect tying into it. Where yeah, I have the that's like a stairmaster behind me, and I hate cardio. I'm not gonna lie. I've always like I'm more of like a weightlifter, and then whatever the shoulder issue. But so I just have that, and the mental that it takes to like just get on that thing is just like fuck, man. I really don't want to do that for an hour. And so once you get going, then it's like not a problem in terms of stopping. But it's yeah, yeah. Like I guess so. You're at that point still of self motivated, like really loving working out kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoy working out,
Mhm.
so it's not a problem. I know for some people it can be a drag at first, but you always feel better after a workout.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I came to realize post college that the reason why I was in the gym all the time is partially because I like the gym, but also because I like the social aspect. And then like when I came home from college, I would live with my parents. My dad has like a bench press in like the basement and stuff. You go downstairs in the basement, it's like it's boring. Like I don't want to do this. Like like and I realized like oh okay like I used to like going to the gym just on the basis of yeah being sociable,
Hmm.
and yeah. Do you?
You need to call your friends when you work out.
There's no I
You
can't go
all work
anywhere.
out together.
I'm not gonna lie. So I feel like if things are going really, really well in my life, and I'll fully admit it. And so my buddy's like simulation confirmed, right? And he's like joking around, and I sent him back the. Have you watched The Matrix?
Yeah.
So the scene where I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy with like the shitty goatee is sitting there eating with like one of the agents, and he's eating the steak, and he goes, "Ignorance is bliss." I just sent him that gif, and I go, "Just leave me in here. Like I'm doing too good." But
Yeah.
pre-COVID, everything in my life was like lining up. I started going back to the gym. I paid for a gym membership. I finally had money for like gym memberships in New York City for a good one. I don't know, $50 a month, $60 a month, and so it's I just wasn't looking to pay that. So I finally get
Hmm.
like a gym membership. All this stuff happens. I'm like 2 months into the gym membership, and COVID hits. Like I had other things going on where like my buddy wanted to start up a shoe store, and so we were like trying to get stuff together for like a shoe and like a hype store. All that stuff is going really well. COVID hits, and I'm like, is this just like me getting clapped right now? Like everything that I was like tied to was like physical things, Like I'm like, okay, I'm getting my life together. I'm gonna get fit again. No, just yeah. for for like a lot of your pieces, do you think that you will try and like mix up like the drop mechanics? Do you think that you're gonna try to be more of like an enigma like pack, or do you think that you'll do open editions? Do you think some kind of almost I don't know what to really call it, but like those percentage chance, like almost like a loot box kind of thing, where like maybe you get like the blue dress is like the highest rarity, and then down the line. Do you think that you'll ever work that into some of your drops?
That's really interesting. And like what I said previous, I actually never thought about that. But I think currently I'm actually just working on slowly building up my collections. I kind of, my mentality when it comes to crypto art and dropping, like minting artwork, for example,
Mm,
I don't want to mint every single thing that I make. I
mm,
think it's important that you mint things that are really are worth that quality, or not something you just made in an afternoon. I think that is super important,
mm,
because then where's the value? If you're gonna upload everything that you just make and it's like not amazing quality, then what's the point?
mm. Yeah. So do you think that do you know Gultra? Colin Gultra? He's like a pretty big. So he's like a collector in the scene, but he's also writing kind of a lot of these articles that discuss, the meta of selling and scarcity and all that kind of stuff. And so he had a really
Hmm.
good article of like, what do you do if you mint too many things and people aren't purchasing them, right? And so,
Yes.
yeah, like you don't want to be the artist that has 100 pieces for sale and then like sold is like two, right? So that
Yes.
obviously doesn't look great. But his take was basically that you could gift, you could trade, or you could always burn them, right? Which like that's obviously like the worst case scenario because it is very expensive to mint. Like I think it's like $70 or $80 typically for me to
Hmm.
mint something. I minted one piece of this is not art. I minted this guy was talking about selling a Beeple at like $800, and then I minted it and I called it regret. It was him complaining about I don't know. I was trolling. I yeah. I like to be a little bit of a goofball, but yeah. For for your pieces, like, do you think that you'll collab with with other people? I think that like with the cultural wear, do you think that you would try and like maybe yourself in terms of like a cultural collab, maybe have silk dress with completely new or different patterns, or like is there anybody that you'd want to work with?
Yeah, I would love to do collaborations. I think collaborations are always a good thing to do within the art community. I don't really have people like an artist in mind currently, but if anybody's watching this and you want to collab, let me know. I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and I think yeah, definitely collaborations would be lovely. I think if you saw on was it Greg and Bill
Mm-hmm.
Eilis that they did a collab recently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great.
Yeah, Bill Bill Ellis is like for when his drop happened, I was like, how are these so cheap? Like obviously cheap is relative, right? But like his pieces are insane. Like the technical quality on it, like the Brides of Lucifer and all that kind of stuff. Like they're just the quality on them is insane. And then like I think they were only going for like 2-3 grand, and like now there's a lot more monetary respect on it where it's like $10,000, and I'm just like relative, right? But
Mhm.
Nifty Gateway just seems to be this um, gateway like almost lotto ticket. Like obviously I don't know what Bill Ellis's life has been prior. I haven't spoken to him, and so I have no clue. But for a lot of people that drop on Nifty Gateway, it's like life changing funds. Do you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be on Nifty.
Hmm. Like. Do you have a take in terms of like the different marketplaces? Like, would you? Is that like the ultimate goal to be on Nifty, or like what do you think in that regard?
I think I don't think it's important which platform you're on,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. I think yes, there's the curated ones like, for example, I'm on Known Origin,
Mm-hmm.
and there's Maker's Place, there's Rarible, not Rarible, Super Rare, and Nifty. So those are like the curated platforms, which it's nice to get into those because I suppose the quality of work would be higher because there's somebody actually going through the work and selecting the quality. But also, I also see people doing really well on Rarible, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and Foundation. And there's another one called Zora, so which are those ones are uh, a lot easier to get in. I don't think they're curated as such.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, it's more so building a community who actually value my work.
Mm-hmm.
I think you do well as long as people value your work because the platform should not matter.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I agree. I think that the curated spaces like do a great job to just kind of like have that kind of cutting board. But yeah, if your connection to, I think that's the big thing, right? Like that's what I was trying to get out with my post. It's just like you need to do it similar things to you're doing. You know, be genuine throughout it, and you know just whatever. Like just build up your brand, right? Like that's the end all be all. And I don't know. It's such like a hard pivot of like I'm not a manager, and you know I'm lightly a moron, so you know I'm not somebody that I'm gonna try and like throw my opinion on everybody in the space. It's just you know to just work hard at your art is not always going to reap benefits in this. You know, like it's not like weightlifting where
Mhm.
like you could just work hard and you get stronger, right? Like you in this like you have to do the repetitions with the work, but you also have to build that kind of like connection with people.
Yeah, I think what I've also learned as well, I think, you could have amazing technical skills, really you can, and you can try and sell, but if you don't have that connection,
Mm.
and if you're just trying to do a hard sale, nobody likes hard sales,
Yeah,
right? Nobody likes, imagine somebody like you're holding your iPad and you're like, buy my work
yeah.
to a random stranger. So that doesn't work and people don't like that. So I guess what people are learning now is that you just gotta, of course, build a reputation, build a community, and be genuine, like you said. I think those are the key things, and of course have good quality work, but that's to do with yourself anyway. So I think within the crypto space, being genuine, have a reputation. What's the last one? You get the gist, something like that. But yeah, just don't be a hard seller, all
Mhm.
in all.
Yeah. For your work and everything, do you find that like I guess what are your personal hobbies, and like do you think that there's a lot of overlap between your personal hobbies and then your artwork?
Well, yes, that's all I can say. I mean, my work is an amalgamation of all my interests and hobbies, 100%. I think, for example, I would say, I guess I watch a lot of like Chinese drama, for example.
Mm,
I also watch a lot of K drama, so Korean drama, and and also K-pop. So that's why a lot of my clothes are kind of really like bright colors.
mm,
If you ever watched a K-pop music video,
mm,
there's the colors are so saturated and vivid and beautiful. So that's I think where my color palette really comes from. The actual pieces and themes is coming from my Chinese roots. I'm really into like streetwear, and sometimes I do hip hop dancing, for example. So that's where my hip hop streetwear influence comes from, and it all just kind of like meshes together.
mm. Yeah, that's awesome. I tried to do breakdancing, and that was also one of the things that was my 2020. A part of my 2020 goals was to do more creative stuff, and so this is obviously you know a step in that direction because I don't know, this is a little creative. Well, not your creative, my level of creative, a little lower, but I tried doing like the breakdancing too because I'm a wildly uncoordinated person when it comes to dancing. I play a lot of sports. When it comes to
Mhm.
dancing, I am stiff as a board, and I tried doing that too. And that was like another thing where I'm like, all right, COVID really does not want this to happen. Like,
Breakdancing's hard,
oh my
trust me.
god,
But it is with the same thing as any sport. If you practice, you'll get better at it. So don't give up.
yeah. I mean, it's I feel stupid doing it at home. I mean, I felt stupid doing it there too. My like I didn't have the brain pathway carved of like memorizing the dance thing. So they'd be like, "All right, we're gonna break it." Like, so you do it, and you're doing like, okay, like say three different portions of like a breakdance piece, and
Mhm.
then they would be like, "Okay, we're gonna break it off into like two halves of the room, right? So you have like this half and then that half, right? And so you're supposed to go like the whole way through. Halfway through, I'm sitting there, I'm like, turning this way, and I see everybody else turning this way, and I'm like, ah, shit. Like I just couldn't. I can't. I don't know. The memory portion of it is not my strong suit, and then the movement portion is also terrible. And so trying to sit there and be like, okay, my hand's supposed to be this way, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what do I do next though?
No, I feel you on that. It's what all dancers go through.
Mm,
Trust me. Like the whole memorization that
mm,
only gets better with the more practice sessions you do.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that your hobbies show through with the pieces. I'm curious because so my TV is like right here, and so
Mm.
when I'm working at the computer and not doing interviews, my girlfriend will sit right there, and she watches a lot of like the K dramas, and so I'm curious what your favorite K drama through COVID has been.
Oh God, so many. That's all I've been doing. I mean, aside from full-time working and streaming and editing, I've also been an avid, like I've been on Netflix non-stop.
Mhm.
So I guess my favorite one during lockdown probably has been there's this one called True Beauty that I just watched recently.
Mhm.
And the humor in it is just stupid funny. Like
Mhm.
you just laugh every single episode. So I recommend that one.
Yeah, I don't. So I don't know that one. I was hoping that I would know it because she watched a ton. Like we got to the point where I'm like, you just watched probably like 40% of Netflix, but she was watching this one where a girl who's like a CEOs person from South Korea ends up in North Korea and then falls in love with
Oh,
like a
Crash
Korean.
Landing on You.
Yes. Oh my god. The old ladies in that are fucking hilarious. Like the oh my god. That yeah. Big fan of
That
that
one's a
show.
good one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
All the
love that
military
one.
boys like geeking out in South Korea and stuff like that. They have like the little hat on and it's I don't know.
It is a great
It's
one.
I know that's like a hard pivot and so yeah, but it's I enjoyed watching it. I would look over and chuckle a little bit. I didn't know what was going on because, just not following along for enough of the episodes, but yeah. It's yeah. Do you so in terms of your art style then, like do you think that it's going to organically change? Are there things that you're not doing now that you really want to do in like the next coming year?
I would say augmented reality.
Mm,
I don't think my style will change as such or this year, but within the years to come, your art style will evolve anyways. I think I still want to stick to this kind of Chinese theme for now because I think there's a lot to uncover within this culture. And for example, like the traditional garments that you see in my profile right now, that's only just one of them.
mm,
There's like hundreds of different
mm,
ones which I want to actually research about and create within 3D.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know enough about the culture to speak on the pieces, but I'm curious, do you think that your style, right, like is kind of limitless? Do you think that you would continue with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, gotta keep it going.
Yeah. I would love to see like so I like we had talked about right with the Norlander, right? The guy who has the piece with the pineapple fighting the coins. And so I personally am like a huge MMA guy. I used to do Muay Thai in college, and so like just my own background. But like I think it would be really really cool to see, even though it's like limbless, just seeing the cloth move in say like a
Mm.
practice thing of like wushu or something like that. Like like I did sancho, which is like a Chinese military art, and so that's like it's a more modern style of or fighting system. I forget. I interviewed my old like the guy who led the class, who's an Eskrima grandmaster, which is like a stick fighting from Filipino, but he knew
Hmm.
Sancho also, and I forget how he described it, and so I'd probably just butcher that, but I think it would just be awesome to see the cloth moving in that kind of like pattern that's also culturally relevant. Like that's what like comes
Yeah.
to mind when you're talking about like other pieces of wear, right? Because there are that monk wear and yeah.
Yeah, I think that is definitely true. We don't see enough of that. And I guess the limitations right now for me is that I currently use a lot of rigged animations from Mixamo, which is provided by Adobe. So they got is a website full of like pre-made animations. So I guess it's just up to me and my technical skills to just learn how to rig a model, which I have currently have no clue how to do that.
Mhm.
And but you know what? If I actually put some time into it, I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the like once you learn that like base thing of like how to move it animatronically, then everything is possible, right? Like you could do the lion dancing, you could do the dragon dancing, and I think that's like would be really really cool to have like a ghost in clothes kind of like not that that's what you're going for, but like that's kind of what comes to mind, like a ghost in clothes kind of like moving and doing all the things, and even if I don't see the limbs, that movement of like tracking through the cloth like would be really
Mm.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
So, do you think, like with like the art side of things, are you obviously we talked about it, and so you're like a little bit blown away with like the NFTs and happy that people are buying your work. Like, do you think where do you think like NFTs go longer term? Like, are you just excited about the space? Like, do you think there's going to be any kind of like drawbacks or yeah?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the space actually. It's all I've been thinking about this week, if I'm honest. And there's definitely pros and cons to the space. It's so new. Like we forget how new it is for digital artists. And one thing that I really appreciate about it is that it's given artists a place to just earn money directly from their sellers, oh no, their buyers directly. So there's no middleman, as in, yeah, so there's no middleman. So that's quite nice. And it also gives a way for people, artists specifically, to not just rely on client work. A lot of freelance artists have been basically searching for clients all the time and working with clients. And, you know, with client work, it's not always the most fun or the most exciting project you could work on.
Mm,
So this is given a chance for artists to actually get paid for something that they actually really enjoy,
mm,
like, and people are actually appreciating it. I do have to say though that there is one thing that concerns me, and that is probably the environmental aspect of it.
mm,
I think that's something that's also really conflicting to me, that I keep thinking about it, and how I know a lot of platforms are saying they're waiting for Ethereum 2.0 to come out, but within the next year or two, I think, you know, that's a long time. You know,
mm,
think about it. Um, so I think is actually what I would really love for the platforms to do is actually do something and help something towards it, because artists are trying to onboard onto these platforms, right?
mm.
But there's not much that they can do if the actual system is set up to just be like using Ethereum right now. I think there must be a way that we can help or slow the process down.
Mm. Do you think so? Hypothetically, Ethereum is like the best coin to do this. Let's just hypothetically. Do you think that it would be a selling point if a company said, "Hey, we're doing really, really well. We're going to for every sale or every profit, like whatever it is, we will put 5, 10%, whatever it is, into some kind of like planting a tree or solar panels or like whatever, some kind of green investment initiative." Do you think that that would be something that would really set a company apart for you, that you would be like, okay, I really want to work with that company?
That would help. Yeah, for sure. I think showing that they care
Hmm.
and showing that they're not just here for the profit
Hmm.
would be really nice. I mean, I know everyone is really excited about this space because it seems like anyone, like the barrier to entry for artists is like close to zero. Anybody can do this, right?
Hmm.
And of course, anybody can earn money using this system. But I think, yeah, if there was an initiative for the platforms to do that,
Hmm.
or to like give like a percentage of the proceeds to an environmental charity, that would be really nice. I think even just individual artists can do that as well.
Hmm.
So I think it's just a collective effort.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. That's so. I have a friend who works for Coinbase, and so he's been in the space since forever. And like I have another friend who works for MetaMask, and between like the two of them, we have pretty good talks. And it really just seems like the legacy institutions that are involved with the world that have kind of just fucked shit up, we'll say, over the past 60, 80 years, are still in power for the most part, right? And then you have like the new almost legacy brands that like Uber and stuff like that that really don't care about the person who's getting driven, or the driver, and just wants to make money. And so it's the same with like Uber, the same way it is with Seamless and all this kind of stuff. And that's where like crypto seems to really be that kind of like solution. And so I hope that crypto becomes as a whole a lot more like less energy intuitive, but at the same time like I also want people to get paid like worthwhile wage. Like I don't know if you're
Yeah.
too aware about like the Seamless situation, but like Seamless, like the restaurant gets less money for the goods that they're selling because they take a cut, right? And then the actual person delivering also makes less money than if they just like delivered normally, right? Like for like a mom and
Hmm.
pop shop. And so it's like if crypto goes away, then we also can't like, I don't know. It sounds like way too large or grandiose, but like overthrow these institutions that are abusive. And so I don't know. It's like a teeter totter, right? Like that's my brain at least in terms of pros and cons. Like the energy intensive is crappy, but I really don't like that somebody makes $7 an hour and can't afford to do anything.
Yeah, I think crypto is here to stay for sure. I think because it's a new space currently for digital artists, I think, we have some type of responsibility to kind of guide it into the right way. Like, I know it's a kind of an experimental phase right now. Everybody's just trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
And yes, digital art has been notoriously undervalued for sure. The only ways that we used to be able to sell digital art was to make it into a print, or
Hmm.
make it into print it onto a t-shirt or something like that. And that just really, like, if your work is digital, it should live in a digital realm. And that's what I really appreciate with like NFTs. But I think, yeah, we don't want it to be that people are making lots of profits and at the same time burning the earth and like
Hmm.
you know destroying like
Hmm.
the future.
So you just said something interesting, and we kind of touched on it already. But like, I'm really curious. Like, do you? Okay, so you're making digital art; it belongs in the digital realm, but you're making a piece that can also be in the physical realm. Like, you should. Do you not? Do you think that you would never want to bring this into fruition in terms of like physical garments or like physical prints?
I don't see the need to currently.
Mm.
I think there are enough clothes in the world.
Mm.
I think maybe if there was an opportunity to do that, to like bring my digital garments into the real world, I would make it a select amount. I wouldn't want to mass produce it.
Mm.
Just because there's what really irks me in the real world is that people will make their brand and slap a logo and put it on a t-shirt and be like, buy my work,
Mm.
buy my logo. And it has like not a lot of value. Only to them it has a lot of value. So
Mm.
there's just already so much, um, like too many clothes that are going to waste right now. So
Mm.
yeah, not a need for. I don't think I need to add to that currently.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool, but I mean, I respect the decision. It's I'm not gonna impact it any either way, but I just, yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting. I guess so. You seem to be, like I said, I couldn't find any pieces that were culturally for like Lunar New Year, and so what other cultures do you think are not getting seen in the digital art world yet? And I guess at the same time, like, would you want to shout out anybody? And I'll try to remember to load all these people's links and Twitters and stuff. But like, what other people who are doing cultural work that maybe not your own, but that you would like to shout out? And like, what other cultures do you not really like see represented yet in terms of a niche to fill?
That's really hard because if you ask me what if anybody's doing cultural work in 3D, there's not. I don't think I can think of one to come to mind.
Mm.
A lot of work that I see online is usually like an abstract cube going like morphing, or it's like a car, or it's like an astronaut. So it like these are usually typical things you see in 3D, right?
Mm.
Um, in terms of work, I would just love to see more people of color's work in general. I think I'm not particularly aware of any 3D artists that are doing this type of work and are vocally or are just showing their culture within their 3D work. So I think there is definitely a need for that within this space. Because you're asking me and I'm like, I don't even know. I
Hmm.
can't even think of any.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. I think that like digital art is a great way for people to showcase their culture and at the same time like educate, right? Because every piece has a little blurb behind it, right? So it's okay, this piece is from, it depends on the culture, right? But like, this century or, from this dynasty or this person wore it, and all those things are relative, and education leads to, less barriers for people, right? So like when you see somebody wearing something like, oh, that's, cool, right? Like and it's more normalized. And not that normal is good, but when you can learn about something, that's where like you can appreciate it. And so that's where I really like your pieces. And then yeah. So it'd be really cool. I totally agree. I would love to see more people making culturally attuned pieces. Yeah.
Hmm. I agree.
So I guess the last two questions that I like to ask are a little bit more free flowing. One is a meta take on yourself, and one is a little bit more open. So we'll start with the open, which is if you were in my shoes, what questions would you have asked yourself?
Hmm. What would I ask myself? I guess I would have asked like where does your inspiration mostly come from, actually? And I guess I would ask how easy is it to learn all this like these 3D programs as well?
You want to answer
I
them?
thought we were swapping roles here. Like you're gonna answer my questions.
Oh, no, no, no.
Well, the first question is inspiration wise. I think we actually touched upon that, and that's like I said, I think me growing up as a kid, I wasn't really in tune with my Chinese culture as much.
Mhm,
I kind of wanted to assimilate and fit in into the British culture because all my friends were like British, and I guess I was quite lucky actually. Most of my friends in school, it was quite multicultural.
mhm,
So what we found in common was being like British
mhm,
within with also being like a second generation or third generation immigrant family.
mhm,
So I guess during that time I didn't really want to associate with my Chinese side as much. And it's only until I grew up older that I was like, oh, hold on, there's so much of Chinese culture that I don't know. Like, I know everything about Henry VIII, but I don't know anything about my Chinese culture. So, like, I don't even know the history. I don't even know where things are from. So, I find that really sad that I don't even know stuff like that.
mhm,
And that's a reason why I'm pushing really hard within my work to educate myself, but also to help educate other people. So it's just a big research
mhm.
for me and learning curve for me.
And
And
then,
then the second question, what was the second question?
how
I
hard is it
forgot.
to learn?
Yes. 3D learning 3D is hard from a 2D perspective, I would say. I remember it took me roughly a year to get my head around 3D for sure. Um, it's one of those things where it'll be hard at first, but the more you practice, the better you get at it.
Mhm,
So I can totally understand, and a lot of people ask me this in my DMs, like Steph, how do you learn 3D? Where can I learn? And like, how do I go about it? And I always tell them like, you just gotta make it achievable. Like, maybe start with a tutorial and learn it for once a week. Like if that's easy for you, then make up like increase it to 2 times a week. Do your tutorial 2 times a week, and just make it achievable. And I always tell them that it took me. I tell them how long I've been doing this for. I'm
mhm,
like, this is my fourth year. Like
mhm,
what you seeing here is my fourth year of doing this. It took me a year to actually understand all the terms, all the like lighting, animation, rendering, modeling, texturing. Like there's so much that goes into it.
mhm,
So you're not gonna expect overnight like
mhm,
mastery or success. You just gotta like persevere, be consistent, and just work hard at it.
mhm. Yeah, that's like, so like with like a lot of, I know a lot of like union jobs, and it's like you don't pay somebody for the 15 minutes that it takes you to fix your electrical outlet. You pay them for the 5 years, 10 years that they've been doing it in terms of the expertise that allows them to fix your issue in 15 minutes. And so yeah,
Yes.
it's mastery through repetitions.
That's also a thing that kind of irks me about clients. Some types of clients that don't understand the craft
Mhm,
only see the end product, but they don't see the journey that got them to that end product that looks amazing.
mhm. Yeah.
So they're usually when clients ask me if to do it at a lower value than I expect, I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how long I've like it's taken me to get to this point and
Mhm,
you're asking for this value? It's because they don't understand the process.
mhm. Yeah. It's, I don't know. Like you said, it's a great time for artists, hopefully, and hopefully it continues and people can get paid a justified amount of money based on the hours worked. But
Exactly.
now we go into the fun question, which is, what do you think your purpose is in life?
Oh, that's deep. Purpose in life. I actually know this one. I think it's something that I've realized once I graduated university and I found out that it's something that I really enjoy, and that's actually helping people,
Mhm,
helping people learn 3D. That's what I really enjoy. I noticed that I'm very good at connecting with people, making friends, and I've actually during lockdown made my own community called 3D Wizards just for that purpose, and it's
Mm,
something that I want to grow further in the future. To be I want it to be a place where people can go to and connect with other 3D people and also learn at the same time. So,
mm,
because when I started learning 3D, I did not have that. I just had YouTube. I
mm.
didn't have anybody to ask. So, I just want to keep on building that mission and making sure that people and the younger generation that are coming into 3D feel as comfortable as possible.
Awesome. That's an hour already.
Hey,
Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the insight into the cultural and the motivation from within. And yeah, I really like the pieces, so I'm excited to keep seeing more of them. And I don't know, I understand the take from a green industry standpoint that there's too much clothes, but it would be really cool to see some of your pieces worn. But I respect it. It's they're really really cool. So that's my own take. But yeah, it's been a blast talking to you. Thank you so much for the time.
thank you so much.